Hello, everyone. Uh, Today, I welcome you once again to our lectures. This is Research Methods 2 series, and today we are discussing Chapter 3, that is Research Methodology. My name is Mr. Kato Alex Male. Today's lecture objectives, we are going to look at the introduction of Chapter 3, the study design, the study area, study population, sampling procedure, data collection procedure, social demographic and behavioral information, data management and analysis, ethical consideration, limitations and constraints, and then research dissemination plan. Today's objectives, I've arranged them in a way of these are the steps. This is the data that is required under Chapter 3. This is the data that is required under methodology. In other words, this is what makes up methodology. Without wasting time, we get the introduction. This is how you arrange your work, and in this order is the order you arrange it in your research proposal. So this chapter lays down the different methods and techniques employed in the research study. It lays down the steps that you're going to be looking at. It includes the research design, it includes the variables, location of the study area, the study population. The study population means inclusion exclusion criteria. It includes the sampling techniques, the determination of sample size, research instruments, data collection techniques, data analysis and presentation, and then ethical consideration. Now, what I've given here are the very steps that are listed on the previous slide under what I called objectives. Okay. To start with the study design. So, under the study design, we want you to write about the research design. We had the lecture on research design. Yes, if you haven't watched that lecture, please go and watch and then learn the different research designs. So here you write about the research design that is to be used for your study, as well as the data collection tools to be used in your study. You know, design goes with the tools. Yes. The design may be a cohort study. It may be a cross-sectional study. It may be a case control, a case report, a descriptive survey, or lab or field trial. These are all designs that were discussed under research designs lecture in research methods 1. Data collection tools should be specified. You should specify the tool that you're going to use. For example, in this category, it can be a questionnaire. We can be having checklists. Yes, if it is a questionnaire that you're having, will it be a self-administered questionnaire? That is, will the participant be filling the questionnaire themselves? Will it be interview administered? Yes, will you be the one asking questions and then filling in the questionnaire? Yes, you need to specify that. You need to specify the types of questions. Do we have structured questions, semi-structured, or unstructured questions? I talked about all of these categories when I was discussing research designs in research methods 1. So go back and watch that lecture to understand each and everything very well. It is therefore essential to know your target audience, the language spoken, the level of education, reading and writing capacity before selecting your design. Yes, that's what we consider mostly here. Know the individuals that you're going into to determine the tool and type of tool that you're going to use. Know your study audience to know whether you're going to use a self-administered, an interview-administered tool, and things of that nature. So how can you formulate the statement for a study design? I just gave a certain sample here of how I can, in case I'm writing under 3.1, this is how I can write. I can say a community-based cross-sectional study. So here I have given the study design, yes, and then the category to be community-based, and then design is cross-sectional. I can say a community-based cross-sectional study is to be used where data will be collected through interviews using a tool adapted from World Health Organization stepwise approach to chronic disease risk factor surveillance. The questionnaire will be structured and the interviewer administered. Now, like I've told you, you talk about the design and then the tool. So in this statement, you shall have talked about the tool, that is the questionnaire, and you shall have talked about the type of the questionnaire it is structured, and it will be interview administered, meaning individuals will not read for themselves and answer. It's you to read and then they answer, and then you fill into the questionnaire. I also talked about the design to be a cross-sectional study design, and then I talked about where I adopted it from. We are going to see that there are various sites where we can have templates for writing certain things. Yeah, we shall see perhaps in the next presentation. Okay. So for this case, the questionnaire that was used in this study was adopted from the steps, the WHO steps. This steps manual, I shared a link which you can follow to download it. I guess members had that lecture. Yeah, I shared it in one of my lectures. So a study area as 3.2. Here we want you to give the information about your area in which the study is to be conducted, if it is a sub-county. Tell in which county, tell in which district or region of the country in which it is located. If it is the town council, tell us the municipality, tell us the city, tell us the district or region. You get, for example, if in case it is a state, in which region of the country is it located? You also talk about the population size of that area. And if the study is gender or age or location specific, what is the population size of that specific group in that area? Give us all this information under study area. Yes? Yes, under study area, tell us about the locality. You try to specialize for us the locality of this study, of this target group. And then you tell us the population of that area from which you will select your sample. And if you will be specific, for example, if your study will be considering only women in the reproductive age, tell us how many women in that area are of the reproductive age. You get it, eh? That is all to do with the study area. And if it is necessary, we shall need you to provide a map at the end of the document. In my next presentation, that is about appendices, I'll talk about each and everything to do with the maps in case you want to place it somewhere. Sample statement for drafting the proposal, a sample statement for writing about the study area. This is what you can say. The study is to be conducted. It's supposed to be will be conducted. Will be conducted as in a research proposal is written in the future tense. The study will be conducted in the sub-county of Butambala district found in central region of Uganda. You can imagine how I've given the details. Yes, the study will be conducted in the sub-county of Butambala district found in central region of Uganda. I've given the region, the district, the country, and everything. Bude sub-county is one of the 5 sub-counties that make up Butambala county of Butambala district. I'm trying to give now the details of the area. It has 4 parishes and 21 villages with 13,800 people. That is according to the Uganda Bureau of Statistics on the website of as at 2021. I've given the details of the population as well as the source. The parishes are Gwatlo Parish, Lugara Parish, Chibuga Parish, and Ude Parish. Now, this study was a bit location specific. Yeah, a bit location specific, as in the sub county. That's why I gave the population of the county. I listed the parishes here because they were to help me in categorizing these people in the form of clusters. I talked about cluster types of sampling in sampling design, in sampling under sampling lecture. Yeah, you revised to get everything to do with that. Then the third one is the study population. Here you indicate all information describing your target population while indicating the inclusion and exclusion criteria. So under inclusion criteria, we want you to tell us who is eligible to participate in this study. You therefore indicate what an individual should have or should be to be able to participate in your study. That's what, so you must put for us the inclusion criteria under study population. What characteristics must be possessed by these people? You get it, eh? Yes. You tell us all the information in that line. Then exclusion criteria. You tell us that among those who are eligible, who may not be interviewed or recruited to participate, you therefore indicate any other quality that shouldn't be possessed by an individual if they are to participate in your study. You get it, eh? Yeah. So in my next presentation, in my next slide, I gave an example of how you can state your target population, how you can present your data. So you can say the target population for this study are the adults aged 18 years and above and are residing in a sub-county. Yes, I've given the target population. You get it? Eh? Then under inclusion criteria. Under inclusion, who is included in this study? Who is eligible to participate? Then I will say all the individuals aged 18 years and above and are residents of the sub-county by the data collection period and are willing to participate in the study are eligible. That is my inclusion criteria. So, are you aged 18 years and above? Yes. Are you a resident of the sub-county? Yes. Are you willing to participate in this study? Yes. Then you can be recruited or you are eligible to participate in the study. Meaning, in case anyone is below, those ones are not in the inclusion criteria. You get it? Eh? In case anyone is not a resident, those ones are not in the inclusion criteria. In case anyone is not willing to participate, those are all ineligible. Then exclusion criteria. Now, many people try to put the opposite of inclusion as exclusion. No, do not tell us under exclusion criteria that the study will exclude members who are 18 years and below. No, those ones are already not in the inclusion criteria. Meaning, someone will follow in the exclusion criteria only and only if they have been able to follow in the inclusion. In other words, the exclusion brings first those ones who have been eligible to participate, but again, they have some other characteristics that have denied them. For example, I can say the study will exclude an individual with a critical illness or mental retardation. For example, are you 18 years and above? Yes. Are you a resident of the sub-county? Yes. Are you willing to participate in the study? Yes. Then you are in the inclusion criteria. But again, are you mentally okay or do you have any critical illness? So if yes, then this member is in the exclusion criteria. I guess people have tried to obtain the details of this. You get it, eh? Yeah. So someone will fall in the exclusion criteria only and only if they have been falling in the inclusion, but they have some extra characteristics that have not allowed them to proceed. Good. Then sampling procedure as a 3.4 in the arrangement. Sampling procedure has two sections. That is the sample size determination and then sampling protocol or the sampling method and protocol. So here you show us how you have determined the sample size. You understand? Eh? Indicate the necessary steps on how you calculated and arrived at the final sample size. Meaning, you also talk about the formula that you are going to use. I gave an example in the next slide of how you can follow these steps to calculate for us your sample size. Yes. So you must indicate the necessary steps. Then under number 2, it is 3.4.2 to indicate that 3 for chapter 3, 3.4 meaning 3.4 under sampling procedure, and then 3.4.2 meaning I'm under the sampling protocol. Point 1 under sample size determination. So under sampling protocol, indicate the sampling method you're going to use, and if necessary, why that method. You get it, eh? Yeah, if it is necessary, it is very, very much, I think, necessary for you to tell us, eh? Yeah, here I said that if necessary, tell us why you chose that method. However, it is very, very necessary for you to tell us, it is very crucial for you to indicate that I'm choosing this method because of this and this. I'm choosing a non-probability method because cases of such and such a condition are not easily located. You understand? Meaning each case I will find on the way will be interviewed, or even I will ask someone to direct me to the cases of that condition. Such method is a non-probability method. You understand? Yes. So revisit the lecture on sampling methods to get the best sampling technique that will be good for your study. Then tell us how will you select the calculated sample size from the population as a whole? How will you? Because you have calculated the sample size under 3.4.1, but then under 3.4.2, how will you achieve that size? Please tell us that I will move from this case to this case, and that's when I will calculate the final number. So you tell us how you will arrive at an individual from first participant to the last participant of your sample. You understand? Yes. So, for example, now this is just a statement. For example, I can say Bude sub-county has 4 parishes, and all these were considered in the study, or the 4 parishes in total. It is from the 4 parishes that the target sample size will be obtained by simple random sampling, meaning we shall have a sample size obtained from one of the parishes, that is by simple random sampling. Then we go to another parish, we obtain also by simple random sampling. Then we go to another parish like that, until we finish the 4 parishes and until you cover up your target sample size. So what does this mean? Still, you'll need to employ another method, that is the stratified type of sampling. Yeah, stratified in a way that you arrange your okay, not stratified, it's clusters, because stratified means layers, means levels. Stratified will mean that in the sub county you'll get the sample at district, at parish level. Then from parish you go to village level. From village you go to perhaps a cell level or community level. Then from a community you select a certain sample. That is now the stratified. But for this case, you'll need a cluster sampling whereby your parishes are your clusters. How? I'll calculate, I'll get the population for each parish. You get it? And then I get the proportion each parish takes from the whole sub-county population. Then I will use the sample size I determined to determine, I will use the sample size as well as this proportion to determine the sample size that will be selected from each parish. I discussed this thing very well in detail under sampling methods lecture. Please revisit to understand more, and I gave very good examples there. Revisit there to understand more. So for this case, for each parish, each sample size that I've determined by clustering, I go and achieve that sample by simple random sampling. So long as an individual is 18 years and above, is a resident of the sub-county, and is willing to participate in the study. Good. Then that is now, that I gave this sample on how you can present 3.4.2. But again, to present 3.4.1, I gave also this sample, sample presentation of sample size determination step in the proposal. How you can bring up this step? Yeah, I will write 3.4.1 and then I write sample size determination. You get it? Yeah, let me try to zoom in a bit such that members can see very, very well. Good. Yes, I guess members can see. I'll write and say sample size determination. And then I'll talk about now my equation. Yeah, we say that talk about the equation that you're going to use and perhaps where you obtained it from. I will say the equation below obtained from the steps WHO stepwise approach to chronic disease and risk factor surveillance was used to calculate the sample size. Of course, this is the standard formula. I discussed it in sampling lecture. So I'll give my formula and then I'll define my parameters in the formula. Z, level of confidence, P, baseline of indicators, and then E as the margin of error. And then I'll feed in my values like that. This is 0.063. Yeah, those points of remaining is 0.063. You get it? Yes. So I'll define my parameters. I'll define my parameters like that, and then I'll proceed to defining each value that I have used. I use the p-value of 0.063, meaning 6.3%. Yes. Remember when I was lecturing about sample size determination, I talked about this p-value. P-value to be the baseline of indicators or any prevalence in a previous study. You get it? And this value, once you give it, you must define it for us. You must tell us where you obtained it from. So for example, this case, I will say a p-value of 6.3% was obtained from the Rancid study of 2021 as the prevalence of hypertension. Yeah. There was a study, it was done in Nakaseke district. It is a district here in Uganda. That study was done by some other person and he obtained a certain prevalence of self-reported hypertension as 6.3. So when I was going to conduct my study, since the study was also to be conducted in Uganda, I used that one as my baseline of indicators or as my any previous study prevalence. You get it? So I defined it when I used it, I define it at this step. Then E value of 0.05 for permissible error as 5%, and then a 95% confidence interval to be 1.96. Each value I used here, I defined it. And please, to understand more, revisit the lecture on sampling to understand what each and every one here represents. So I also said, considering unexpected response rate, I talked about this still of 0.9 and 60 age sex estimates, and then I multiplied like that. I obtained the final sample size as 600. When you are determining sample size in your study, you must tell us all of these steps and how you excuse me, and how you arrived at the final sample size. You must tell us all these steps, you must define them, and you must make your supervisor contented that indeed this is sample size was well calculated. Then I'll summarize and say the target sample size is 600. Yeah, leave alone the past tenses. Yeah, it is supposed to be in future tense when you're writing a proposal. It is the report which is in past tense. It is the report which I say was, but for a research proposal, I say will be 600. You understand? Yes. Okay, then of course I put this note aside to why I used 0.9 as response rate. Yeah, it was obtained from WHO standardized rates. So why did I define each and everything here? To show my supervisor, to show the people, the research review board who will review my research, that each and everything here was from somewhere, and where it came from is from World Health Organization, not just something I planned by myself. It's not something I just got by myself. I didn't forge anything. I made actual calculations. So it's the same way that you must also do. Okay. Yeah, I guess members have seen how we can indicate this step of sample size determination in our proposals. Good. Then I'll proceed to 3.5, that is data collection procedure. Here, so under sampling, you indicated how you'll arrive at an individual participant. You told us how you arrived at this is how I select an individual to become a participant of my study, or how I will arrive at my sample. You understand? So here, under data collection, you must tell us how you will engage your participants. Now, you have selected them already. They are your participants. And you want to tell us now how you will engage each and every participant. This information is key because under research, especially in health, we deal with the human participants. We deal with the human lives. So we cannot just joke around with them, and the research review board just on looks with you to proceed to play around with people's lives. You understand? Yeah, that's why everything here is very, very necessary. Okay. So you tell us, will you move household to household to engage your participants, or you'll call for a community or village meeting? And such that members come, perhaps through their LOC1 chairperson, they come and then you tell them why you perhaps you have called them, what you want to do, what is the importance, you understand, and then you recruit them in your study. Which step will you exactly take? You must tell us each and everything here. So what protocol will you follow from recruiting an individual participant up to starting to ask them your questions, up to starting to engage them in your study? That's the information we want under data collection procedure. Indicate how you will obtain consent. Yeah, we shall look at consent and appendices. Indicate the information you'll obtain from the participant. Yes, you want to obtain their age. Indicate it there. That's what I call the demography, demographics and behavioral information. I talked about that under the objectives of this lecture. If you remember very well, it is listed there. So it is written under data collection procedure. So you must indicate for us that I'll take this data for age, I'll take data for sex, I'll take data for alcohol use, history of smoking. You get it? Yeah. You tell us all of the information, all of the variables that you will obtain from an individual participant. Also, you must consider emergency states that the nation may be in. For example, COVID-19, droughts, floods, and you must give us a detailed mitigation plan or any emergency facilities that you are going to put in place to mitigate the current emergency states that the country is in. So if you're going to conduct this study and perhaps there are floods ongoing in an area, yes, how will you ensure that your participants are not at risk of falling into that emergency, into that drought, into that flood? If it is coronavirus disease, how will you ensure that your participants are not going to contract the disease? Or even you, the investigator yourself, how are you going to ensure that you're not going to contract the disease and perhaps spread it to other areas where it is not existing? You must tell us all of these measures for us to ensure that we can give you a go ahead into your research. Data management and analysis indicate how the data you are going to collect will be managed. This includes data security. Data security is very, very key. Where will the participant data be kept and how safe will it be? Tell us. Are you going to collect this data and then gather it on a flash disk? Are you going to collect this data on hard copies? And where are you going to keep these hard copies? Are they going to be safe? You get who else will have access to this data? You understand? You tell us all of this information that such and such a person is a co-investigator. I'm working with him. Therefore, he will look at this data or he will have a copy of this data. You understand? How safe will it be? Are you going to lock it somewhere? Yes, that flashcard is it going to be guarded with a password? You must tell us all of this information. Under data analysis, how will this data be cleaned and analyzed? What steps will you follow? Which software package will you use if at all you are to use a software package? This is driven by the research hypothesis. Yeah. Under research analysis and then data management, they are all driven by your hypothesis, your questions, and your objectives. The research questions that you asked yourself, the research objectives that you want to achieve, this all drive the type of analysis software that you are going to use, because objectives give you the type of which data that you need at the end of the day. Good. Then 3.7 is ethical consideration. Indicate how ethics will be considered in your study. The first indication of ethical consideration is seeking for approval of the research by an institutional review board or a research ethics committee, and the research project is assigned a REC, that is research ethics committee, a REC identification number. So if this research was submitted by to an institutional review board, and then this board approves this data, that is the first indication that this work, if the board approves this proposal, yeah, it is the first indication that this work is actually it considers the ethics of my participants. So once you assign the REC number, you must include it that this work is to be submitted to a research ethics committee. And if you submit it for the first time, they will give you an ID number. And if they give you an ID number, then you attach it. Yeah, when you are talking about ethical consideration, you say this work has an ID number of this and this. You understand? Yeah. Indicate how you'll obtain consent from your participants. Now this goes beyond the approval by a REC. Yes, you must tell us here that how will you obtain consent? Will it be oral? You understand? Will it be oral? Yes. How about us? How we shall be sure that that oral consent seeking was actually conducted? Meaning you will need to provide recordings. Will it be written? You understand? Yes. What steps will you follow? If there are children that you're going to have as participants, are you going to who is going to be giving the consent? Of course, children cannot. Yes. Then you have to obtain a consent from their parents. You understand? Yes, in our next lecture, we're going to look at consent. See, asking for consent. We're going to see everything under that. So, indicate for us how you obtain consent and indicate that nowhere in your data that your participants will be identified by name. For example, do not list your participants' names when collecting data. That in instance so and so is HIV positive, and therefore he said that he is not taking ARVs and perhaps he's going through experience. You understand? You can imagine how embarrassing that is for me to read that, hey, you mean Mr. So and so is HIV positive? You understand? Therefore, in case you are to recruit participants in your study, identify them by codes. Identify them by codes and not names. So that any other person who is going to read it through cannot know who that individual is that is actually having both coronavirus disease as well as HIV/AIDS. You understand? Yeah. So get in touch with your course coordinators. This is just a note. If you want to know more about the research ethics committee that your institution is working with, yeah. Please, each and every institution has its own research ethics committee that they work with. Yeah. So, as a student, and you must submit your work to the research ethics committee for approval, please. And you don't know the committee, you don't know which committee, get in touch with your course coordinators. They will direct you appropriately. But in other words, we shall not allow a work to continue without approval from research ethics committee, especially if that work is to deal with human participants. Good. Then limitations. This is 3.8. I didn't label it as I didn't give it a label, but it is a 3.8. You must give us your suspected limitations. Indicate what you think might affect the validity of your findings. That's what we have under limitations. Then tell us how you are hoping to solve that. So as your work can be valid, you understand? Yes. What might affect the validity of your work? If you don't indicate it, it will be the first factor for us we shall consider. Do you understand? Yes, if you forego it, if you don't indicate it, yeah, with the way of let me forego it, say that I'm not asked questions. If you forego it, for us we shall ask you, we shall continue to ask you that, please, what if your work is subjected to such and such a limitation? What will you do? You understand? Meaning we shall need you to have it written in your research proposal. So, for example, okay, I'm going to give an example later. Please do not indicate monetary or climate limitations. For example, you can some people give suspected limitations as the lack of funds. Funds are not available to run this study. Some people say the climate is not favoring to facilitate the study. The weather, the climatic condition or the weather condition is too fluctuating and therefore cannot favor my study. Please, those are not limitations because they indicate a poor timing of the study, or else the only mitigation plan we shall tell you is to wait until funds are available so as you proceed, or to wait until the climate gets back to normal. That's the only mitigation plan that is available for such limitations. You understand? Yes. In case you tell us that a limitation I have is because of lack of funds, we shall tell you, then you're not ready to carry out this study. Wait until you get funds to carry it out because we want to have valid data. You understand? Or in case it is climate, we shall tell you first wait to conduct the study until the climate normalizes and then you proceed. You understand? Yes. So what can I write then as a limitation if with these two examples I've given are not limitations? We can have a limitation, for example, data is to be obtained from participants themselves, meaning it's their choice to tell you what they want. You understand? Yes, that is a great limitation because most of the data for self-reported studies, it is the participants, you ask them and then they tell you what they wanted to tell you. You understand? That is a limitation, and we cannot tell you to stop the study because participants might tell you lies. However, a mitigation plan is that as an investigator, inform your participants of how important it is for them to give you valid data. Explain to them that please give me valid data because of this and this, and proceed telling them the importance of them giving you valid data. Proceed to tell them how the data they give you will be utilized, so that they can give you, you can be reliable for them to give you their data. Otherwise, if you happen not to be serious in front of them, they will tell you even wrong ages. You understand? Or age groups for that case. You understand? Yeah. Okay. That is the suspected limitations. Lastly, what we can look at, that is 3.9, is the research dissemination plan. Yeah, you must tell us how you are willing to disseminate findings of the study. Indicate which people will access, will have a copy of this study. You understand? Yes. Indicate where will your data be perhaps published. You understand? Yeah, such that we can be sure or secure that this data will not be badly used at someone whose benefit. So, for example, I can say the data will be published through a medical journal. You understand? The data will be shared at district or state or sub-county administration. That one is also okay. The data will be shared with my school or department administration. That one is also okay. Then I can also say this data will be shared with the supervisor or any other individual that other than me, the investigator, that will have a share will share a copy of these findings. Indicate each and everyone who will have a copy of these findings such that we can be sure that this data will actually be safe. Yeah, so that's what to do with the research dissemination plan, and it is the last bit you can tell us under research methodology. Thanks for watching and listening to me once again. Kato Alex Mare, my name. That's my email in case of anything, any concern. I'm a public health officer and I'm a researcher. So our next lecture is going to be on appendices. We are going to talk about appendices, that is references, work plan, participant consent forms. That we are going to talk about each and everything in our next lecture. And these appendices form the last bit of a research proposal. Yes, appendices form the last part of the research proposal. The research proposal, as I introduced in the beginning, it has majorly 4 parts. Yes, okay, 5 parts. We have this first part, which has the title, the declaration page, it has the table of contents, the abstract. That is the first part. The second part is to do with chapter 1. You tell us the research background. The second part is literature review. The third part is uh, the third part is the literature review. The second is research background. That is chapter 1. Then the third is chapter 2, literature review. Then chapter 3 is the fourth part. Yeah, that is to do with the methodology, the one we have discussed today. Then the fifth part is this part of appendices, which I'm going to discuss in the next lecture. Okay. Today we have been discussing methodology. These have been our lecture objectives. I guess members have learned. Let's meet next time in appendices. Thank you.